to Josh in the booth with the while the
Y'all, thank y'all for joining us for another episode of Truth Talk.
I'll call it Josh Trailer House.
I've been drinking whiskey tonight. Lost my job, can't pay the light. In the morning I'll be alright. I've been drinking whiskey all night. I said,
All right, thank y'all for tuning in to another episode of Truth, Tall Tales, and Whiskey. We got Mr. Dan O Connell from Dallas, Texas on here with us tonight. He just dropped last month his It's About Time EP, and that was the first EP you dropped, right?
Yeah, it had some singles off of it, but yeah, that was the first full release.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about that.
So I recorded it with my friend. His stage name's Tim Lightyear, but his name's Tim Allen. He's a performing artist, producer, based out of Dallas. And I don't know, he and I actually grew up together. We were kids. We went to the same grade schools and all that stuff, but didn't really know each other. And then once COVID happened, through a mutual friend, we kind of connected again, and he didn't have any work to do. He was trying to get his producing game up and didn't really have any work to do. So he was like, well, just come over and we'll work on songs. So we worked on songs for, probably almost a year, and then recorded it, saved up some money, recorded it, hired some great guys. And yeah, I like it. Here's what we got. I'm very, very proud of it. We had some great people help out with it, and yeah.
Hell yeah. I mean, I enjoyed it. I told you earlier that Texas song was my favorite one on there. Until you played the other one. Then I actually listened to that one.
So you said that before we started, and I was kind of like, maybe I should do that since he said he liked that song. But I also recorded a video that's like the only like professionally recorded video I have is of Texas. I'm like, I probably don't need two videos of Texas recorded, so
right.
We'll just move on.
Yeah, the other one, what was it called again? The one we said we were going to play at the end of the bar?
Call It a Night.
Yeah, Call It a Night.
Yeah, that's the first song on the EP, and I kind of wrote that for my dad because he was just mad that I would stay out late and he couldn't do it anymore.
Oh, I understand that.
And yeah, I like that line, 65 years old, and damn it, I'm still cold. Like
nothing to show.
Yeah.
Nothing to show for it.
Yeah, he was, and that's not true. He's an accomplished guy, but that was kind of a little nod to him and getting old and
you talking shit.
Yeah, I was kind of poking the bear a little bit.
That song will forever play in my head when we're on Zach's back porch playing songs.
Yeah, dude, we need to just play it for him, like I said, when we're trying to leave.
He's convincing you to like stick around.
Like, just stay. Let's play a couple. We're gonna play a couple more songs. Just stay over here.
Man, tonight was my first time hearing that song, and dude, you're an incredible songwriter. I gotta say, pro level. Hey, it was pro level tonight up in here, and so man, I wanted to ask you, like, how long have you been writing songs?
I mean, I was tinkering in college, so that would have been like 10-ish years ago, but I started taking it a little bit more seriously around 24. So like, I was trying to do it, but I wasn't very good.
Yeah.
Ironically enough, Texas was written in that time though, so maybe
I'm in that stage right now, so I know what you're talking about.
But yeah, no, I started listening to people I hadn't heard very much. Like, I have a kind of a weird musical background. Like, I played guitar starting at 12, but like I started playing guitar because of Blink-182 and stuff, and like
hell yeah.
Then I got into something corporate for songwriting. Like, I really liked like that like pop punk, like girly sounding guy singer voice.
Yeah.
And as I got older, it became apparent to me that I wasn't gonna be able to do that because if it hasn't come across, I have a pretty fucking low voice. And I went for my freshman year of college. I went to the University of Arkansas, and up until this point, hated country music. Did not like it. Was not a fan. Wasn't about it. And then I moved to Arkansas. I'm like, this sucks. I miss Texas, and part of my like reconnection with Texas was getting into some of these songwriters. So eventually, somebody showed me "Elephant" by Jason Isbell, and I was like, oh, that's what you're supposed to do. Okay. And so I can't say that I've achieved that level of awesome in terms of songwriting, but that's kind of the bar for me, is striving for that kind of stuff.
Well, dude, I will say, like, I've come up alongside some guys, and Jason Isbell is like one of their top dudes, and I'm the same way. When I came on the scene, I was not into country at all. I appreciated what like people were doing in their artistic space. You know what I mean? But dude, you definitely connected the dots for me tonight. I told Corey outside, I was like, dude, I get it now. Like, that is how you're supposed to write a fucking song. It's epic, dude. It's so good. Yeah, your music is killer, dude.
I don't know, like as time's gone on, like I've started to really think about the fact that like I didn't grow up doing this, so it feels really inauthentic for me to be singing like something super twangy and all that stuff. Like I grew up in the suburbs of Dallas. Like I didn't grow up on a farm, and as much as I want to have like hardcore fiddle in all my songs, like that was one thing Tim really helped me not go crazy with. It was just like
you get like a slight cringe. You're like,
yeah. He was like,
I don't know.
he was always great about listening to the idea, and he'd even go as far as saying, okay, let's try it. And then he'd be like, what do you think about that? And I'm like, I don't know. It kind of feels inauthentic. And he's like, yes.
That's a good engineer right there.
Yeah,
for sure.
He lets you explore the idea, but will be honest with you if it's not, what he's vibing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You say
cool.
it's inauthentic, though, but it's funny. A lot of the singer-songwriters that I respect the most that tell the best stories did the same thing, where they were listening to, like, a lot of those, like, pop punk and emo groups, and then started doing the singer-songwriter thing. And I think I don't think it's inauthentic, because it's called emo. There's emotion in it, you know what I mean? So it's just like it's the next sort of logical step in my mind.
I think that that's an important subject to touch on for other songwriters, because what music you might listen to, and like if you listen to reggae music in the car every day on the way to work, but like people at your shows are not going to vibe to reggae music if that's all you play. You know what I mean?
Sure.
It's almost like a business move to say, or even to say, this is the music I like, but man, I'm really good at this, writing this kind of music, You
kind of just hit on something for me, though, because where I was going to go is, like, you said the business piece, and country makes money.
Yes.
But that kind of country, in my opinion, typically isn't very good.
Yeah.
And so
Agreed.
I've really tried to, like, there's this instinct in me, because I like the sounds of those old country records and stuff. So I try and add elements of it where I can, but that is not the sound that comes out when I write songs most of the time. So, we've all gotten the question, like, what genre do you play? Like,
yeah.
I'm just like,
let me put you in a box real quick.
Well, and it's fine. Like, and I usually just say Americana because it doesn't mean anything.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah. Americana's like a pretty broad.
Yeah, it's just broad strokes.
all the time.
And that's where most of the good songwriters are, is in that Americana kind of broad genre.
It don't mean anything.
Well,
It doesn't. I mean, it's such a broad genre.
I mean, just try and write good songs, I think is what it comes down to. And then, like, unless you're Radiohead, you don't have to try and change your sound from a completely different band, one album to the next.
Yeah,
so.
and man, I really think at the end of the day, it's still, if you are willing to put it out and do it, it has the authenticity. You know what I mean? Like,
A good song's a good song.
Yeah, absolutely.
At the end of the day.
Absolutely.
But I think a lot of that plays into the venues you can get into and
Very
play. What venues have you played that you would say would be your favorite at this point?
Double wide's always fun. I'm a little old for it now. Maybe it's time, sort of deal. But no,
Was that a jab at Callie's?
Don't listen to him, Brandon.
He just played there and he's older. Damn.
he got
It hurts.
Don't listen to none of these guys right now, Brandon.
the last double wide show I had was with you, actually.
That's true.
And it was fun.
Yeah.
I love playing there. It's just like, so my dream, actually, this is not answering your question, but I have this weird dream of opening the middle-aged music venue. It'll be called The Snail, and shows start at 7:30 and are over at 10. And then, it'll be open as a bar the rest of the time.
And
But
they wanted to leave like 30 minutes ago, but they stayed because the
Oh.
music was good. Like, man, I'm really
The
tired,
shows that I book at Sweetwater from 7 to 10. I got you.
The funny thing is, the double wide, the sound guy at double wide on Friday night, we were talking, and those shows start so late. I mean,
Yeah.
they don't. The opener doesn't kick off until 9:30, and there's usually 4 acts. So you're going until damn near 2. And the sound guy at the end of the night was like, "Hey, I'm thinking of starting a petition with the musicians to talk to the booker about starting these shows early. What do you think?" And I was like, I mean, don't. I'm 41 years old. Of course, I'm going to say yes. Let's do that.
It's going to help with the attendance. That's what's always driven me crazy there is like you see I always benefit from it actually because I'm playing at the prime like headlining spot because I'm always opening the show. So I always feel bad for whoever's playing after me because I'm like full room for an acoustic solo act. Cool. And they're like into it. They're excited. They're ready for music. And by the time it gets to the third band, there's 6 people there. And they're probably a little drunk and, you know, they've had their good times. But
Yep.
I guess coming back to your other question though, like I don't know. I love playing Sundown. Sundown is one of the better sounding rooms I've ever played in. And it doesn't feel like it should be. It's a really weirdly shaped room. It kind of even doesn't feel like a music venue sometimes, but those shows are always so fun.
We've heard that from a couple other people.
It
I
does
think.
sound killer in there.
Yeah, it's
Shay's been running sound there forever, so he just knows.
yeah, it
that
sounds
room.
amazing. Continental Club in Houston, I played a lot. Like honestly, the North Houston music scene was pretty impactful for me coming up, and there's a lot of interest in songwriters that people haven't heard before there. That's hard to find, I'm sure we all know, and really cool. And then just like the Fort Worth places, like oh my gosh, I just played it. I can't think of it. It just closed.
Lola's
Oh.
Not, I do like Lola's. It was like more of a songwriter venue.
Twilight.
The Twilight was cool. Like, there's all those, man. Like,
The Fort Worth scene's cool as shit.
yeah, the Fort Worth. I mean, it's,
Well, Magnolia. Are you talking about Magnolia?
Mags was cool. No, I'll remember it later. I know I will. This is the second time I've seen
I'm just
it.
gonna go down the gamut
Yeah.
of all these places.
I mean, truth be told, like I haven't had a bad time playing any Fort Worth.
I know,
venue. Like,
and the community's so awesome too.
The Locust is really cool too, which wasn't what I was thinking of at that
The
place.
Post.
The Post is what I was thinking of. Yes, but all these places, man, and the Post just closed, and it's a bummer. I think they're trying to move. But
I'm interested in talking to you later about the North Houston scene because I lived in North Houston for like 4 years. So
yeah,
and that was way before I ever thought about doing music. So maybe off camera.
we should take that one offline for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
We've heard of some about the Houston scene from old Jeff Canada.
Yeah.
So when you're
Shout
getting
out
your
Jeff Canada. Yeah.
Yeah.
so when you're getting in your car tonight and you're leaving here and Apple Music, Spotify kicks on, what are you gonna be listening to?
Probably a movie podcast.
The rewatchables.
Yep, I'm a big
I guess-
rewatchables guy. I was actually listening to one on the way here.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a whole
about Glenn Gary
conversation.
and Glenn Ross.
We had
Brandon,
a whole conversation about movies earlier.
Brandon mentioned you still have your Blockbuster card.
Not exactly, but there's a really fun board game, and it looks like the Blockbuster videotape box. If you're into movies and like that kind of stuff at all, it's kind of just like a dumb little party game.
Speaking of blockbusters, did you see that there's another Twister movie coming out?
Twisters. Yes, I did.
I'm kind of stoked if I'm being honest.
I mean, Glenn Powell is kind of killing it.
Yeah.
So I'm in, and my wife actually went to high school with him. So I don't see any world where our paths actually cross, but I've got an in if they do.
Yeah.
The soundtrack. There's a lot of cool names on the
was that?
soundtrack.
I know.
What was that other remake that we?
Tanner, maybe.
Oh yeah, Tanner's on that. Yeah. What was that other remake that we were talking? Oh, the Crow remake that's supposed to be coming out. Oh yeah. There's a lot of people mad about that
A
one.
lot of people.
That was-
maybe rightfully so. You know.
Yeah, I kind of agree. That was an odd choice.
Yeah.
So you're a big cinema guy. Who's your favorite director?
I've been watching a lot of PTA stuff lately, so Paul Thomas Anderson. But like honestly, as much as I don't really like Yellowstone, Taylor Sheridan did some pretty amazing movies. I wish he would go back to that. I think he's better in the short form, I guess. And then is it Jeff Nichols or is that the guitar one? He's the guy that did like Mud and Take Shelter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love those movies.
He's Ben Nichols' brother too.
Yeah,
Lucero.
Lucero, and Lucero does all the, not all of it, but he always has a Lucero song in his movies and stuff.
Hell yeah.
That's cool. I didn't know that. That's cool.
How you feel about Tarantino?
I'm a fan. I don't understand why he's deciding to end his career now. Like I wish he would keep going.
It's like the Beatles thing where it's like go out on top, maybe.
I don't know if that's where the Beatles were. I think that's kind of just what happened.
He's always got the wildest twists in his movies.
It's great. He's. I think he's an artistic genius.
Yeah, he's an artist.
great.
Dude. He's an artist.
But he's also really weird.
Yeah.
So I understand why he's not for everybody.
That's
Well,
because he's an artist.
The whole foot
He's
thing.
weird as shit.
It's cool. He does it in a lot of movies. I mean, who else is gonna write a scene where Selma Hayek pours alcohol down her body off her foot?
I mean,
I would
that is a
definitely write
fair.
that.
and he
that is
puts
a-
himself into that.
that is
I don't
a
think-
fair point.
I don't think anybody in here is in disagreement of that scene. Like, that's
It's
a very-
iconic.
Like, hey, you know what? I've got this idea. I'm gonna do it though.
Yeah, I'm gonna be in this.
Put
I
me
wrote
in,
a
coach.
personal thank you letter and sent it to him.
This fucking guy.
That's my favorite movie to recommend to people, but don't tell them not to watch or look up anything about it, and you'll just have the weirdest change like 3/4 of the way through.
I remember as a teenager just seeing that movie and being like, you think it's one thing.
Oh yeah,
And then when they all start turning, you're like, what did I just walk into?
yeah. I've sent many people down that path.
Yeah.
I don't regret it.
Okay, so we're talking about movies. I personally love music movies, like
Same.
Cadillac Records, The Temptations. Temptations, one of my favorite movies of all time. It's like almost 4 hours, but it is an incredible movie. So I have to ask you,
Can't say no.
what's your favorite music movie, music related?
Oh, easy. Almost Famous. Almost Famous is
Okay.
probably the most rewatchable movie of all time.
Cool.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I mean That Thing You Do is great.
Yeah.
That's a cool one.
The funniest one is there's a Jerry Lee Lewis biopic with Dennis Quaid called Great Balls of Fire, and I can't find it anywhere. Like I think Dennis Quaid is like getting people out to be like, no, do not let anybody watch it.
He's like super Christian now, right? That's probably what it is.
It's an awful movie. That I cannot picture someone worse cast for that role.
Really?
It was really funny.
That's good.
So we were kind of touching on your musical influences. I told you at that last one that doesn't have a name yet. It's more of the Hayes Carl kind of vibe. So you said you have a short list of favorite songwriters. What would that be?
Yeah, like Hayes Carl is probably the top or one
Yeah.
of the top.
Understandably.
Robert Ellis is really, really good. He's actually in Fort Worth now.
I was about to
he's-
say, yeah.
Yeah, he's been really influential on me, especially guitar-wise. Derek Trucks, if we're talking guitar.
Oh, dude.
Tom Petty is... I don't get to flex that muscle as much, but that for a couple of the songs on the EP, I distinctly remember we were trying to record the lead parts, and I was coming up with something, and Tim was just like, oh, that's a Tom Petty part. We're locking that one in. I'm like, okay, cool. I'll take that.
Hell yeah.
That's a compliment.
It was blind luck. I am not a guitar player first, I will say. I can hold my own, but I'm not
Dude,
the
you
lead
play
player like
great.
these,
You
like
play
some-
great.
Yeah, you did a couple little licks in one of those.
Yes, dude. The walk ups and walk downs, like even guitar players don't do that when they write songs.
Well, I'm kind of straddling a bass player guitar player thing. Like a lot of my lead
Yeah, dude, yeah.
a lot of my lead parts are really probably better bass parts, but I don't have a bass.
But
So I play it on guitar.
to me, like because I was a musician first, I think you're rounding out the sound that way.
Yeah.
It feels very musically mature, the choices you were making on guitar when you were playing your songs. And I was like, dude, pro level.
I appreciate
Pro
it.
level. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, like, again, big Robert Ellis fan, and he's got that Travis picking down.
Yeah.
Like nobody's business. And
Well, it's like because you don't have to be extreme, you play the right stuff at the right time. A lot of times it's about what you don't play.
absolutely.
You know what I mean? For me, anyway.
No, you're 100% right. I was in a 3-piece for about 6 years,
I love that 3-piece.
and it was just guitar, bass, drums, and I found out, I wouldn't say quick, probably not quick enough, but I did eventually find out like it works a lot better if I don't strum. I'll just do a diamond and let it hit.
Yeah.
And
Just let it ring out.
yeah, and let them
Yeah.
cook, and then when I need to play a lot, I'll play a lot, but when I don't, I started getting into this mindset of like, I'm going to touch the guitar as little as possible.
Dude, don't tell me that. I'm super stubborn. I'm stubborn.
He's the most,
I already
most
know
stubborn
it's
person
coming.
I know.
It's coming
Bad.
one day, but I'm gonna like push it away as long as I can and be like 3-piece, brother. I'm about to sing. I'm about to bust this solo right now. But I totally get like yes.
Well, it also depends on your style. Like
Yeah, for sure.
we were I always described it as like I really liked like Townes Van Zandt and
Yeah,
Jason
dude.
Isbell
Yeah.
and like
Yeah.
that's more of the singer-songwriter stuff. And then my drummer was like obsessed with Pink Floyd, and somehow
Yeah.
we kind of married the two
I
ideas.
love Pink Floyd is my favorite band of all time.
There you
Best
go.
band of all time. And I will say Townes Van Zandt, I probably found out about him like less than a month ago. And it rocked my shit, dude. I was sitting in the house like just listening to it. just like wiping my eyes and shit. I was like, oh my God, dude.
Yeah, man, he was one of those guys.
Incredible. It's incredible.
So you went from like Blink, right, into that rock, and
Yep.
somewhere along the lines, you're liking some of the bands you mentioned, like Jason Isbell. What was that first one you obsessed over? Like when you decided you're gonna pick up an acoustic, play a show yourself, that you just started diving into it.
Well, so I got into like folk a lot, like kind of like more modern folk. Like if you saw that movie Once with Glenn Hansard and Marquetta Globa, that guy had just this like monster voice and like had a hole in his guitar that was this big.
That was the first I'd heard of him, was through that movie.
Same. And I went and saw him live, and up until that point, I'd been listening to all this pop punk stuff and had this basic understanding that live shows don't sound as good as records do, because it's just not possible, because that's what my 17-year-old brain convinced of me. And after seeing that show, I was just blown away. Like the record didn't touch it. Like these guys had like 4-part harmony going with 4 people, and it sounded like there were 25 people on stage, and it was just so cool. So that got me more into like, okay, this idea of live performance that can sound good. And so I started liking the folk thing. And when I went away, there are bands that like kind of nudge both edges of it. So like Whiskey Town was probably in the more Americana vein. That was like one of the first ones where I was like, hell yeah, like this is really, really good. And it's Ryan Adams. Like obviously it was good, but
Yeah.
it was before he was Ryan Adams. It was Whiskey Town, and it was really cool.
Dude's got his own signature pedals and stuff.
I mean, he's kind of gone off the deep end possibly now. And
That was a while back, but yeah.
well,
I don't know where he's at now.
He's kind of people
don't.
step away for long enough, and then you give time. It's like, it happens with a lot of these guys, it seems like, and I don't know if it's right or if it's wrong, but it seems like he's now doing it again, and,
I mean,
sort of
in my
coming back.
opinion, he's just too prolific. I'm like, take 2 years to make an album instead of, 11 albums in 2 years.
You're right, because it is, a lot of it's a little subpar when you're looking at it. Like you hear some of those records, like Prisoner, that album was so good, and the other ones you just forget immediately,
Yeah, I think about that a lot when I'm writing. I'm just like, we're in this interesting era where it's like doing an album or doing an EP even isn't really that practical anymore. It makes more sense to just go record a song, release it. That's why it took me 2 years to release these recordings. I sat on them forever because I'm like, they're not going to mean anything if I can't get people to listen to them.
Yeah.
And finally, my buddy Billy was just like, what are you doing? Like, this is so stupid. You've been sitting on these forever. They sound good. Just release them. And it was nothing like that. It was nothing like, oh, I'm worried about how they sound. I think they sound great. I wanted people to hear them, and there's so many methods for doing that. And now I'm kind of just like, So let's get. I'm honestly, more than anything, I'm ready to go into the studio again, and I felt really guilty about going into the studio again while I had recordings I hadn't released.
That's such a relatable topic for artists, though. I mean, so like, what side of that are you on? Are you on the 11 albums in 2 years, or are you on the 1 album in 2 years?
One album for sure.
Yeah. I mean,
Somebody else in this room sitting on a gold mine of songs that he won't drop. Martin.
Martin's one of them people, man.
I can relate. But
He's the master sensei
We
around here.
we had a slow night in here the other night. We weren't really doing anything, so we recorded a song for Matt, and then Martin was like, "Hey, I wrote this one the other day." He's like, "I want to see what you'll think about it," and it was like the best fucking song I've heard in the last year of my life.
It's okay.
Banger City.
It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
I want to hear it.
So
No, we'll
before
show you after.
Humble
before
giant.
too long, he might need to use the "It's About Time" EP.
Yeah. No shit. He's got so many.
But for those that were in the know, that was very. I got like 3 texts the day I dropped like the initial like announcement or whatever, and they're like, "That name is fucking hilarious."
Yeah, it's
You're-
perfect.
Yeah, you're just like, yeah. well.
So how does that make you feel, though? I mean, when you're not releasing music and you got your fans, your diehard fans, and they're hitting you up and, man, why aren't you releasing any music? Does that stress you out, or are you like, hey, man, just stay tuned and then forget about it?
You know, it's tough for me because like, I'm not gonna pretend I have these thousands of fans. I'm pretty. People that come to multiple shows, usually by the second time they're there, I'm like, hey, thank you. Like you're
Yeah,
here
for sure.
again. And
Thank
usually
you so
they
much for coming to
they
another
become
show.
they become buddies kind of.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
some of the bands that were really heavy influences on me earlier on, started as I was a fan going to their shows, and then they were staying at my house when they were traveling through town. And so I'm like, I guess I'm kind of thinking of it like that. But no, it's hard not releasing stuff. Like, honestly, my wife is the one who is like, why are you not releasing music? This is like so dumb. And I don't know. I think it's just fear of the unknown.
She's
It's
right.
Probably the short answer.
Yeah.
She's right. And I do understand your mentality of thinking, I want to have some semblance of a fan base so that, people are anxious about it and want to hear it. But I also think that putting something like that out is sort of getting the ball rolling.
Sure.
Where like now people can see you and they go, oh, here are these like 6 or 7 songs that are out, that they can sort of dive into, and that helps things snowball.
I agree. I
I
feel
think I
like
agree.
that's a common move with the EP deal. It's like people have been waiting so long. Let me put out a 5-song EP real quick, give them something to chew on.
I think in retrospect, I do agree with you. And I think I was more just like scared that everybody would be like, man, this sucks. And part of me is like, well, fuck them. I like it. But another part of me is like, man, it'd be really nice if it didn't say less than 1,000 listens on these songs.
It's crazy how that messes with you.
Yeah.
Right, and it shouldn't. That's the
It's a
thing.
modern thing. You go on, it's like, oh, I've had this song out for a month. How many streams do I have? Like 300.
Because you're trying to accommodate people, and it's all about instant, gratification.
And then you play it live, and the whole room's silent, and
Yeah,
everybody's listening
exactly.
to it, and that makes all the difference,
Then
right?
you get your reassurance.
Yeah, man. I actually had one of those shows last week, and especially being a solo act, it can be hard to get booked into those kinds of rooms, and you're either opening in a bar, which is fine. I'm down. I like that environment, but doing that by yourself, you're going to be playing over some clanking bottles and whatever else, people yelling, and either that or I can get a patio gig for 3 hours, and that, I mean, nothing is more demoralizing for me in music than like
And just nobody paying attention.
Yeah, just finishing a
The
song,
no clap. No
finishing a song, and then I'll play the King of the Hill theme song, and they lose their minds.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Colt 45.
I love it too, man. But that other song was all right, probably.
Well, speaking of
Yeah,
those
right.
rooms, though, the listening rooms, and I guess this is a good segue into another topic, but I saw you at Opening Bell, and that's a pretty cool listening room where you're going there to listen to somebody and be quiet, and it was with a band called Aster. So
Yeah, this is a newer project, kind of born out of desperation. Not desperation's too extreme, but just born out of, my friend Billy Hale plays and sings for a band called Bravo Howl, and they were taking a bit of a break, and he and I had done some song swap stuff in the past, and we didn't know each other super well, but we were very friendly, and we were just like, okay, well, why don't we try and play some stuff together? And earlier that year, about 2 months before we started trying to do anything with us together, he was recording an EP for a project called De Oro. And so I recorded bass on that, and that was kind of where we further solidified friendship and stuff. And it kind of started out as neither of us wanting to play shows alone, and that slowly grew into why don't we try and write songs and like make this a band and stuff, instead of just being like, this is Dan and Billy and we're just not playing shows alone. So we've played 2 shows. We were supposed to have a third. We're working on rescheduling it, and then we have another one in June at Troy's in Arlington. But we're just kind of starting to work out. What we've been doing a lot of is learning each other. Like, he's learned the EP and like put some harmony parts to it and stuff, and I'm doing the same with his EP.
Oh, that's cool.
And so that's kind of where we're at, so we can play shows, but the ultimate goal is to write new music and get that recorded and stuff. And so
Like
we've got
together.
yeah
that's
so we've got
super
like
cool.
we have probably 2 songs. Like, there's some old Dan O'Connell songs that like I was never going to go record by myself, but I'm like, well, maybe if he has some thoughts on this, we can reappropriate it and write it and have it fit this Aster thing. So it's been really, really fun, and we're actually working on adding a third party. Our friend Ryan Stogner from local Union will be playing keys and singing with us and stuff. So
What does Aster mean?
fun fact, that's the street I live on.
Okay.
Um,
okay.
Don't
Simple enough.
don't get creepy, anybody out there. That was actually Billy's idea.
I'm gonna be there.
Driving past your house
waiting.
tomorrow.
3 a.m.
But it's actually a
With a
flower.
boombox
It turns
outside
out.
your window.
Yeah, go for it.
Play Texas one more time.
I'm glad y'all like that song, man. That was like the second song I ever wrote.
Well, I mean, I did
great, dude.
that. Well, I did until you played the other one.
So now you don't like to.
No, I still like it. I still like it. But it's not my favorite one anymore. Now that I heard you sing that one live, it's just a whole different vibe. It's like a whole different vibe.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't know.
the song with no name, and then the
So we
Can't
don't
remember the
matter.
fucking name of
Let's hear the truth. The biggest judge. What's your wife's favorite song?
That one for sure. It's about her. And like, well, so like, it's actually funny. So we got married in December. So it's been, let's call it 6 months, and it's really fun playing this song on stage because I'm like, anybody that's, if you've watched any of the songs tonight, like pretty much anybody that listens to me can tell pretty quick it's a very sad song set. And so I always introduce this one. I'm like, well, I got married and I wanted to write a song for my wife, but I'm incapable of writing a happy song, but I didn't want it to be like anything negative about her. So, well, in this song, she died, and that's what the song's about.
I promise we weren't fighting when I wrote this song.
Oh yeah, and we weren't. It was
Allegedly.
well, it was
Allegedly.
one of the, you fall into these lines and you feel like you've heard them before. Like if you've seen the movie Crazy Heart, he plays a snippet of a new song, and then he's like, "Do you remember who sang that song?" And she's like, "I can't remember who did it." And he's like, "That's how it is with the good ones. You always feel like you've heard them before." And
Timeless.
that was one of the like. Talking to the Wind was one of those lines where I was just like, okay, that feels like something I would have heard before. And same with Good Night Before Your Name on the EP. Like that was one of those that I watched that movie Marriage Story.
I feel like his proposal had to be like movie quality. Like,
I tried. I failed pretty epically actually because I was going to do it in a park. Our birthdays are a couple weeks apart, and I was going to propose in this park that's right next to this bar, and we were going to have a joint birthday party at this bar. I had convinced her parents to come out. My family's going to be there. All of our friends were there. And it got delayed due to a work conflict. And then she's like, well, why would we do the birthday party after both of our birthdays? This doesn't make sense. And I was like, no, please do it. I have everybody coming.
Gotta wait another year.
And then the week of, I look online, and there's a huge Christmas festival that same day. And I mean, like thousands and thousands of people. And I'm just like, I guess I'm just going to go for it, whatever. And so what would have been a very intimate and like lovely experience where I had some friends hidden out to take pictures and stuff, they were still there, but there's also 200 other people in the pictures and stuff. But it worked out.
That's a musician, like, that's perfect, dude.
Yeah,
You're a spectacle at that point. Everybody looks over.
I was expecting everybody to applaud, but they didn't.
they're just like, what the fuck is what the hell is this guy doing?
It's like
over
a
here?
regular show.
They're like, can you move?
Did he hurt his knee or something?
and there's never accidentally 200 extra people at your show. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know how this many people
that
got
way.
here, dude.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's the tricky part. I don't know about y'all being a little bit east of Dallas, but like in Dallas, show attendance is hard. And
It's hard everywhere, dude.
Yeah, it's especially for original music right now, man. It's a big passion of mine, is like trying to support and be an original artist, and it's just so.
It's a knockdown drag out.
Yeah,
You almost got to have
got
like
you.
a
I got you when I
cover
book you.
band, like a cover band project on the side, just to get that Madison
Make
Square
it
Garden. Like,
I have a friend who's they're basically trying to take on bills where it would be two bands, but one of the bands is going to be like a tribute to like the Eagles, or to like they'll change what band they do, but they'll choose one, and they're going to do the first half of their original set before and then the last half after. And I'm like, that's clever. I hate that you have to do that.
yeah, but that is clever though. That's clever.
It's hard. Or you get, you open shows like you did the other day, and people get turned on to it. That's the hope, because you have something very special.
I appreciate
sure.
that. And yeah, I was very fortunate. I fell into that. And like, it's take the opportunities when they come, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But I got you if I book you out here, because one of my talents, and I'm one of my very few talents in the world, is booking a show and then getting 20 or 30 people to come with me to watch an artist they've never seen before.
And
He does do that.
they do
that.
they do like it is sad boy land out here. They
Hell
like
yeah.
sad
It's
songs.
real
Sad
intimate.
boy hours.
It's real intimate out here.
I will sit
Well,
there and
I've
drink
looked
whiskey all
around,
night
I
and cry
understand
with
that.
you. I make all my friends play their
They'll be
sad
out there
songs
like,
right at
hell
bars.
yeah, brother.
It's just the best music.
I would
Yeah,
love to
that's-
hear. I'd love to hear a Dan O'Connell sort of arranged version of like a Blink-182 song or something. How that would sound.
Well, yeah, I've messed with it for something corporate songs, and I've just never had the confidence or gumption to be like, is this song good enough to actually play? Like, I don't know.
Dude, this guy Nathan Hopkins that we know, he plays a Nirvana "Smells Like Teen Spirit," but you can't even tell that it's that song unless you listen to the words. It's completely like sad, slow. Have y'all heard him do that?
I think I have.
Yeah, it's fucking incredible.
What do you think your favorite cover would be?
That I do or would
Yes.
do or what?
Yeah, that.
I mean, my favorite cover to play is George Jones' "The Grand Tour." It's just
Hell yeah.
so fun.
Doesn't seem like something you would play. That's cool.
I
That was
hell
a
yeah.
curveball.
I completely stole it from Robert Ellis. I like to say when I play it out, I'm like, Robert Ellis taught me this song. He doesn't know it, but he did.
Are you a big George Jones fan at all, though?
I've kind of gotten into it. There was I watched too much TV, and there was that George and Tammy show, and I was like, oh, there's some good stuff on here. And then like, there's a great George Jones song on Mad Men called "Cup of Loneliness,"
Yeah.
and like just the more. I wouldn't say I've heard one that I'm like, man, ugh, what is that? Like, I just haven't really explored it.
I love George Jones so much. He's one of my favorite singers, and if you really go down the rabbit hole, you're a podcast person too.
Yeah.
There's a podcast called Cocaine and Rhinestones.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
it's
I've listened
it
to
is, and he deep dives, and he's a massive George Jones.
I'm
fan.
pretty sure he like tells the lawnmower story and shit.
He tells all the stories.
No, the get off that riding mower.
Well, there's that show too, Tales from the Tour Bus, that Mike Judge
That was
did.
fun.
Yeah, that's really entertaining. But like, yeah, George Jones was pretty great.
He was an animal.
He was.
So you said you came up on Blink-182 and pop punk and stuff like that, but you sing in a lower register. So do you play in different tunings to accommodate that, or you just say, nah, I'm not going to tackle that, like I want to do it the real way. If I can't do it that way, then
I used to play a half step down.
yeah.
That's a cheat code.
Yeah, but
That's
once
very
you
common. It's
once
very
you get into the
popular.
studio, though, it's really hard, especially for strings or
Yeah.
for keys. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of digital keys now, but like if you're using an actual piano or like a real Rhodes,
Right.
it's like the first song I ever recorded in a studio was in D minor, and we had a guy playing keys, and he had a Nord and wouldn't transpose it to be easier. He was just like, oh no, so it's flat D minor. Okay.
And you like don't want those scenarios to happen, so you're just like,
Yeah, you
E
want it to be
standard
as-
is where it's at. I'm gonna stick. So like I've been playing in D standard lately, and
Whoa.
I really dig that. But E flat has always felt that way. Like, oh man, like you're supposed to sing in E standard. If I sing in E flat too long, I get flat, you know. So I mean,
Yeah.
is it like that for you too, or?
No, not really. Like I kind of, I don't know. I think being in the studio and like really working on singing in the studio and learning how to find the notes and get consistent with them really helps. There was a funny part in one of the songs on the EP. I go for it. Like,
Yeah.
It's a song too many times, and we did it. I don't know, vocal. Most of the songs we probably did 3 to 5 takes of vocals, maybe not even, and splice them together. And this one we were probably on 2. We were doing it for 2. I could never do more than 5 or 6 at a time. So he would make me. I would keep going, but he would be like, "No, you're sounding like shit.
Like
You're like,
reaching.
stop."
You're like, yeah. Oh, dude, I've been there. It's tough. It's
Yeah.
a tough situation.
Well, it was so funny because it's just technique, and because my instinct when I have to like get loud is I kind of do this, which is the opposite of what you're supposed to do. And so I would do that, and then he watched me sing one, like because he was in a separate room, and he finally came out and he watched me do one, and he's like, "Okay, pull your shoulders back, try and look like up-ish." And I was like, "Hit it first try." We didn't do another one.
Yeah.
I was just like, okay.
Yeah. I've been in that same exact situation, dude. He's
Yeah.
like, look up and just go
Yeah.
for it. You know, yeah, for sure. Cool.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I hate to cut this interview off, but like the EP name, it's about time.
It is.
So, Dan, it's been a good time. It was nice to get to know you a little bit and talk about some of these stories, and I'm excited to see what you got coming up in the future.
Yeah, guys, thank you so much for the time, and give me a call. We'll bring Astor out here.
Any
yeah.
shout outs?
Yeah, let's do
Any
that.
shout outs before you leave?
I mean, I would just say like follow at Dan Zigzags on Instagram. That's where I post all my stuff. At astorband.texas, I think is the other one. Those are kind of my two main projects.
You have a full website, don't you?
Yeah, danoconnellmusic.com.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I hope to see everybody soon.
Hell yeah. All right. Thank you all for tuning in to another episode of Truth, Tall Tales, and Whiskey.
I remember weeknights after work, we'd stay out way too late. Bar might be closing, but we had to test our fate. All these years later, I remember everything. Still ease off when I'm driving, 'cause you don't like the rain. Our story may be gone, maybe not at all. Should've seen the world more, put pictures on the wall. Took a break from looking back to see the end has come too soon. Now talking to the wind is how I talk to you. First few years flew right by, that's almost no surprise. Traded movie night for Little League and sick kids at sunrise. Working jobs kept me late, always up and down. Laugh about what we give up, 'cause we won't leave this town. Our story may be come, maybe not at all. Should've seen the world more, put pictures on the wall. Took a break from looking back to see the end's come too soon. Now talking to the wind is how I talk to you. Our story may be coming, but I don't think that's true. I sit outside all alone, missing everything you do. Took a break from looking back, getting to the end. Sit outside day or night, just talking to the wind. Sit outside all the time, missing everything we did. Sit outside all alone till I see